Welcome inside the Austin Bruins show on AM 1480, KAUS, and MyAustinMinnesota.com. Your inside look at the Austin Bruins, including all the latest news, notes, and stories from Riverside Arena and beyond. Here's your host, TJ Shalott.
Oh, happy Wednesday, Mower County. TJ Shalott here, voice of the Austin Bruins, bringing you another edition of the Austin Bruins show. It's our second episode of the 2019-2020 season as we get ready to go just a couple weeks away. As a matter of fact, days away from the preseason, just 9 days until the Bruins' first preseason game, and exactly 3 weeks from today, their very first regular season game on September 18th up at the Showcase in Blaine. Well, we got plenty to talk about in the next hour as far as the Austin Bruins are concerned. And my first guest for this season, brand new assistant coach Kenny Orlando, joins me in studio as the guest co-host. Kenny, is this your first time on radio? I love asking that question to people.
Yes, it is.
Okay. First time on the radio. That's it's always fun. You get to shake off some of those jitters and get used to it. But we have a fun time on the show. Fans out there seem to like it. So that's where I want to start with you. You're brand new to the organization, and I know a lot about you because you and I have obviously had a chance to talk. But the fans out there, the diehards or the black and gold, they necessarily don't know who Kenny Orlando is. So Kenny, let's talk about your early career and how you ended up here in Austin. I guess where we'll start is you grew up in Pennsylvania, and you and I grew up about 45 minutes away from each other, and we never ran into each other or crossed paths. As small of a hockey world as it is, we didn't get the opportunity to talk to each other in that regard. But let's go ahead and start early. So you grew up at your parents had an ice rink, is that right?
Yeah. First off, TJ, I want to thank you again for having me. But my parents, they made the ice rink, Hatfield Ice, when I was, I believe I was 8 years old. So before that, I was playing hockey in our local area, and my dad always had aspirations to kind of invest back in the hockey community, and he was able to, and we were fortunate enough to be able to invest in that project, and it opened up when I was 8 years old. So from 8 years old on is when I started my youth career at my family's rink.
Which is pretty incredible because just Pennsylvania and Eastern Pennsylvania, not the biggest hockey hotbed in the world, 20 years ago or so. It's still it's growing, with Penn State becoming a Division I school and starting to spread some of the interest, and now you have all the club teams, which we'll get to, all the club teams in Philadelphia in the area. South Jersey always seemed to be a really big hotbed, so you guys were kind of the first ones to really start and to really help build the game of hockey in that area. You started at 8, which is pretty late for a lot of guys when you talk to them. We had players on last year, and things are always like, I was skating right around the time I could walk. How was it for you learning to skate and learning the game at that age?
Well, yeah, so I want to backtrack a bit. So with my family's rink, I started playing hockey there when I was 8.
Okay.
So I was one of those guys, the guys that were born on skates. So I was playing from 3 until 8, but I was not at my family's rink.
Gotcha. Where did that come from? How did you get interested in hockey to begin with?
Yeah, so that was all through my dad. He's been a passionate hockey guy almost his entire life. So he started a little bit later than I did. But, he invested that love for the game and the passion that I now have. That was all thanks to him at a really young age for myself. Got to, play hockey in the neighborhood. I got to mess around with him in the house playing mini hockey. Actually, in our old house, we were pretty fortunate. We had a synthetic ice rink in the basement.
Oh.
So I kind of got to rip it up down there all the time. Once in a while, I was young, so once in a while I got scared to go down there, scared of the dark by myself. But when I could bring my dad down, I was down there for hours on end. So that was pretty cool I think that was a big contributing factor to why I love the game the way I do today.
When did you become an integral part of the ice rink itself in terms of working, running the Zamboni, just being helpful for your parents? At what age?
Yeah, I would say working around the rink when I was probably 16. I started as a cleaner and was helping out. once I was done doing like my dad's summer camp as a player, I tried to help him out a little bit, and just being around the rink. As the years progressed, I moved into working in the pro shop and being involved, like you said, doing some Olympia rides and, just getting my hands on more with more of the operations at the rink. And that's when the assistant hockey director position was thrown my way. And, fortunate for me, I'm working with people that I've known my whole life and I'm comfortable with, and, a lot of family, a lot of close friends. So the transition was easy to go from just playing hockey every day in the rink to kind of working in the rink. So,
and those skills eventually paid off pretty good in terms of how you landed your job here in Austin. I don't want to lead into that too much, but I know that was something that Coach Howard was looking for, someone who could help out on the equipment side of things with these guys and sharpening skates and, helping them out. So that it gave you a skill set, something to put on the resume that maybe someone out there who was just a coach didn't have. So that's it benefits.
Yeah. No, all the experiences at the rink have seemed to help me throughout my coaching career. Absolutely. I'm sure we'll touch on that a lot more, but the rink has really built me into the professional that I am today.
So let's talk a little bit about Pennsylvania. So you grew up in Chalfont, PA, which is 45 minutes or so from Philly.
Yeah,
give or take.
Yep.
Depending on how busy 309 is getting down there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in basically right outside of a major city. Did you go to a lot of Flyers games as a kid?
Yeah. That's my team.
And back in those days, the Phantoms were down in Philadelphia at the Spectrum too. So I got the opportunity to get to one Phantoms game at the Spectrum before the Spectrum was taken down in Philly. It was pretty neat. It was an experience that I had never forgotten. And then when I found out in 2012, I think, maybe 13, that they were coming to Lehigh Valley where I was living, I was like, oh, this is great. This is even better. So you grew up a big hockey fan, and you're, even to this day, obsessed with hockey. Yeah. I think obsessed is a perfect word. Yeah. I don't want to say fanatic. I don't think that does enough. I think obsessed is the right word. I remember the first time I met you, I asked you, what are some of your hobbies that are not hockey related? And it was just a silence. You're like, I don't have any. I don't know. Because you go home. I mean, you've been home since you've moved here. You've already been home to help run some camps and do some training and stuff because, you like to do that thing, and you've done it here in Austin as well.
Yeah. That's something that, my dad had a summer hockey camp at the rink that I participated in when I was a player. Once I kind of aged out of that, then, I fell in love with that, and he kind of wanted to, get out of it a little bit. Just because he was so busy with his other business. So I kind of took the responsibility of the camp on, and, that was something that I went home for this summer, and it's been 5 years now, and I'm very passionate about it, really proud that my name's on that. And, we get 60 to 80 kids per summer coming out for our camp, and I have a lot of solid helpers and a lot of people that also love the game. So it's something that, I really pride myself in.
Your whole life, as I was doing some prep work here before the show and just doing a little deep dive into who Kenny Orlando is, your whole life has set you up for a career in coaching when you think about it. Just the way everything has kind of fallen in terms of working at an ice rink, learning that side of the operations, and then, you just keep going forward, teaching the camps, and it kind of set you up. So there's some people out there who are doing a job that they probably should not be doing. That is not Kenny Orlando at all. Welcome inside the Austin Bruins show. TJ Shalott sitting in studio with my special guest co-host Kenny Orlando, the assistant coach of the Austin Bruins, here on this beautiful Wednesday. The weather was so nice. Oh man. But hockey season's right around the corner. We only have 9 days until our first preseason game against the Aberdeen Wings. Those tickets will go on sale September 2nd. I know it's Labor Day. We're still going to get the tickets out to the vendors. You can get them at Games People Play, Hy-Vee, Holiday Inn, and Jim's Marketplace. So, Kenny, back to you. Let's talk a little bit about your junior career and your playing career as we jump into that. You played a little bit in the WSHL, the Western States Hockey League, and you played for the New Mexico Renegades. You were there for 2 years, 2 seasons. Your second season, you were the captain of the team. And this is where I think that theme of leadership and that theme of you just being destined to be a coach kind of began with your captaincy, back in 2012, 2013. At that point, you were, 17, 18?
18, yep.
18 years old. So you played in New Mexico. What was that like? Because it's starting to become a little bit more popular in the southern United States, you know, with the California teams in Vegas. And now, of course, there's the new NA team, the Ice Wolves down in New Mexico. What was that like back in 2012-13 to play hockey in that area?
Yeah, it was an incredible experience, actually. So that was my first time away from home as a player. So the year before that, I played juniors in Philadelphia, so I got to stay close to home and live at home. But it was really eye-opening for me to just recognize hockey all over the United States and how these players are coming from all over the place. And there's other players out there that were at the time were as passionate as I was for the game. And they're willing to move away from home and put hockey first and their development. So it was really cool. The landscape I really enjoyed, like the ambiance and the environment of New Mexico, because it's something different compared to the East Coast. Like, you don't see that every day. I really liked the mountains and the sand and being able to go work out in the mountains and hike. And it was just a different experience for me. And, you know, I think it made me grow as a human and as a leader. And I think that's why that happened the second year with the captaincy. And, I went back there, you know, feeling like a new player and feeling like an adult.
78 points in 70 games in the WSHL. And you weren't done there, because in 2012-13, you went the complete opposite direction of New Mexico. You went up to Canada, playing in the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League with the, I'm going to probably say this wrong, so correct me, Osuyos Coyotes.
Yep. Pretty close. I think there's a bunch of different pronunciations.
Well, there's only one right one.
Yeah, and I don't know what the right one is. I say Osuyos.
Okay, that's probably right. So. That's probably right. I'm going to go with Osuyos because that's how you say it, and you played there. So you also played there in 2012-13, and you talked just seconds ago about how the kids give up, you know, their home life and leave. And we see it here in Austin all the time. These kids from everywhere, all over the world. Here you are, a Philadelphia native, going to New Mexico and then going all the way up to Canada. What was the thought process there? What were you hoping to accomplish?
Well, at the time, I just thought it was a great opportunity for me to kind of develop my game at a different level. You know, see different players, see a different landscape of the game. And, you know, I went up there and that's exactly what I got. I got a different look, and I fit in nicely. Like the skill of the game up there really matched the way that I played, and I felt comfortable there. So that I ended up going up there halfway through that second season. So when I was a captain in New Mexico, I was only there for 3 or 4 months before I made that transformation over to Osuyos.
17 points in 17 games while you were in the KIJHL. In case you're doing your math, you were in those 2 years, 2011 to 2013, you were better than a point per game player. So that's not too shabby in your early portion of your junior career.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Then you went back home, right? And you played in the USPHL with the Philadelphia Flyers Elite, and also played in the EHL with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. Not the same as the NAHL's Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights, but it's part of the same organization, same ownership, I believe, right?
Yeah. They have a great thing going over there. So I ended up in Wilkes-Barre because I was in the Flyers organization in the beginning. Things just weren't going as I expected. I mean, I really enjoyed my time there. I wanted something different. So I spoke with the coaching staff, and we were able to work something out and got me shipped over to Wilkes-Barre, and I couldn't have been happier there. That was, besides my father, Justin Lyle and Tom Kowal, they were probably the best coaches that I've ever had. They left a huge impression on me, helped shape me into the player, coach, and human that I am today. But yeah, that was the EHL at the time. There wasn't the separation EHL and EHL Premier. It was the EHL. So I finished up there, and once that season was over, that's when I committed to SUNY Canton.
So it's safe to say that during the showcase, when all of the teams just collide on Blaine, Minnesota, you're going to look out Tom Kowal, who is currently the coach of the NAHL, Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights, and see him. I'm sure you guys probably have a great relationship, and it's a good fit now that you're in the NA, he's in the NA, and that's what the game of hockey does, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Been on the phone with him a bunch of times. He's a great guy, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to see him again at the showcase.
Well, that wraps up your playing career in juniors and leading up to your collegiate career. On the other side, we're going to talk about your collegiate career because, unfortunately, it wasn't a long one as a player, and that's not because you couldn't hack it. We'll go ahead and dive into that on the other side and how Kenny became a coach after playing in college. Stay tuned. We got plenty more of the Austin Bruins show coming up right here on AM 1480 KAUS. Welcome back inside the Austin Bruins show on AM 1480 KAUS. TJ Shalott, voice of the Austin Bruins, here with Kenny Orlando, one of the team's newest assistant coaches. The team getting just about an overhaul in the coaching staff other than head coach Steve Howard. He's still around. He's having great success here in the NA, but he's brought in Kenny Orlando and Keegan Asmundson as his two new assistant coaches. And Kenny, right before the break, we were talking about your junior career. And one thing that I noticed when I found out that you were coming here, and I don't know if I told you this story, so if you're hearing this story for the first time, perfect. If not, that's okay. I want to tell everybody anyway. So the only person that we had in common, I guess, in our mutual hockey careers is a good friend of mine, Mike Zahn. Mike and I were interns together with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms when I was just getting started in my hockey career. And when I found out that you had been at Temple, and we'll get to your coaching career here in just a second, but when I found out that you were there, he was the radio guy during that same time frame. And I said, hey, Mike, we just hired this guy, Kenny Orlando. I haven't met him yet. He's coming in here in the next couple weeks. What's he like? He just sent me a text, and I wish I would have thought of this because I would read it verbatim off my phone, but it was something akin to, just Google his name. He's got the slickest hands I've ever seen. So sure enough, I pull up Google on my phone and I type in Kenny Orlando. And the first thing that I see is this just nasty dangle move that you had when you were playing in Wilkes-Barre. And eventually it made the NHL Network and ESPN Top 10, and it spurred a whole segment on NHL Network. I want you to tell me about that. First of all, describe the play as it happened, and then let fans know where they can see it online, because you can find it, and talk to me a little bit about how the NHL Network picked it up as a regular segment.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty cool experience, actually. I mean, not a lot of people get to say that happened, but yeah. So obviously, I was a skill player. That's what everyone knew me for. When I was at the rink every day, I was always practicing, with my hands and my shooting and everything else. So, that was my big strength of the game. And, people saw it in action. The people that knew me and the people that played on my teams, they saw it in action. The people that would just see stuff online, they're always the ones that were questioning, oh, you try to do that in the games. There's no reason to comment back. But, yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, from what I remember anyway, cause, it's 6 or 7 years ago.
Don't act like you haven't watched the video.
I've seen it once or twice since then.
Yeah,
it's sure. Maybe it's in the saved videos. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, that you pull up when you're having a bad day. Don't lie.
Yeah, it's a little confidence booster here, but yeah. So what I remember, I believe we were shorthanded actually, and I got a puck coming down the left wall in the neutral zone, and I can't remember if it was 1-on-1 or 1-on-2, but I did take a player on the left side coming into the zone. And I just gave him a standard, hand the puck out to him. As a lefty, I'm dangling the puck outside here, just letting him, go to reach and swing for it. And then I threw it underneath of his stick after he did swing. And then that, cutting into the center of the ice. Now I'm a lefty. I'm on my backhand side, and I wanted to bring it back to my forehand, but the defenseman his body was in the way. So what I did was I maneuvered the puck in a way where the puck slid back to my forehand, but the only way it was able to get there was to bring that puck through my legs on my offside. So it's very tough to explain the actual maneuvering of this, like if you just go watch it. So like you said, you type the name in. If you type in anything like NHL Network, Kenny Orlando, I don't know what it is, but it's on there.
It's the first hit. It's the first hit. When you type Kenny Orlando into a search engine, it's the first hit in the videos section. And it's a little snippet from NHL Network. They were coming right back from break, and they had the talent was standing up there in front of a big green screen, and he jumps right into it and talks about it, and it spurred this whole thing. It started a new segment for the NHL Network.
Yeah. So, to finish that thing off, like, I guess after that puck was kind of through my legs, like it was just a quick snapping motion. I went across the slot. I guess it caught the goalie off guard a little bit, but at the end of the day, it looked pretty cool on video. What you're relating to is they ended up putting a small segment together. I forget what it was called at this point, but it was something where it motivated people to, be more involved with the, sharing what they have to offer and maybe some clips or some highlights that they have with the NHL and with the NHL network there. So they ended up, after they had that clip and they made that 45-second, minute episode or whatever it was talking about it on the NHL network, they encouraged people every week to send in their clips of their goals or their saves, and the NHL network would pick one to show and display and talk about, just recognize the player or the goalie or whoever. Maybe it's a fan. I don't know. All the different things, but it was just neat that the NHL was recognizing that. I think someone in the rink, in the Revolution Ice Center at Wilkes-Barre sent it to them. There was no evidence of me sending them anything. I can promise that, but it did get there, and it was pretty cool to see, and very rewarding to walk into the rink one day at practice and seeing all my teammates lined up in the lobby looking up at the TV. And it was on ESPN Top 10, so that was probably
cool. That's very cool.
something unique that a lot of people can't say they have, but just having the support of my teammates and coaches that were all out there cheering. I didn't even know it was coming there, but we made it a routine to watch the top 10 every morning before practice, and we were all hanging out there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go out and hang out with them and watch it. And lo and behold, number 8 pops up, and you just see a scrappy little video, not high quality, not HDMI or whatever you tech guys call it, HD.
Right. Yeah.
But just watching it up there and everyone was kind of freaking out. It was pretty cool, but of course it was number 8. It wasn't number 1. There was a lot of basketball in there, but no knock on basketball. That seems to be the top 10 filler usually.
Yeah. and you're talking about ESPN too and all that stuff. Yeah. So it's kind of, the rights and stuff, but I'll be honest with you. You can ask any broadcaster, any radio play-by-play guy. They might not admit to this, but if you flat out ask them, it's something that they want. There is nothing we want more than someone on our team to make a ridiculous play so that we can call it. And it's somehow, even though we know that the volume is going to be turned down and they're going to be talking over us, I just want to sort of kind of hear my voice in the back of that clip on an ESPN Top 10 clip.
So you made it.
Exactly. I'm extremely jealous of you right now because that's just something that I want. I mean, last week they did the NAHL 26 and 26, and on their Instagram page they put up a story of the Bruins when they were covering the Bruins. That was the team of focus.
Yeah.
And they put the story, which was the last year's Paint the Ring Pink breakaway winner from Sheriff, and they included my call, and this is on Instagram, and I'm sitting there going, yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we have a little bit of ego problem in the press box, but that's pretty cool. I mean, that's really neat just to be able to say that you were on NHL Network, you were on ESPN Top 10, and, that was, like I said, during your time with Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights, and that was your last year in juniors before going to college. So you went to college, you played at SUNY Canton. For those of you who are unfamiliar, SUNY is the State University of New York Canton campus. There's,
70-something?
There's ridiculous amounts of them. I mean, you have what? Canton, I don't even think I even heard of Canton until I met you. Because, you have the Oswegos, you have the Plattsburghs, you have the...
Yeah. The big names, they're the ones you hear of. You don't hear the other ones as much. But, there was 9 teams in the SUNYAC. Unfortunately, Canton wasn't legally allowed to participate in playoffs, but they had a SUNYAC schedule as a Division III NCAA team. I don't know the politics that they were going through at that time. Obviously, only the coaches would know, but we weren't allowed to compete. Even if we were 25-0, we weren't allowed to compete in playoffs. I mean, we were not 25-0. We weren't even close, but just that wasn't something that sat well with the players, and I'm sure with the coaches there that, they weren't allowed to compete in the playoff.
And I had mentioned before the break that in your junior career, for the whole of it, you were pretty darn close. I don't feel like doing the math right now, but you were pretty darn close to being a point-per-game player. And you were on that pace as well in your collegiate career. 8 games played, and you had 6 points. You had 5 goals and an assist in your first 8 games, and then it all came crashing down. What happened?
Yeah, it was a really promising start. had a lot of great teammates and had a coach that believed in me, and I felt like I was set up to succeed where I was at, and just pretty unfortunate what happened to me. So, I in juniors I did have one concussion at Osuyus, where I had to sit out for the rest of the season. So that was probably 4 months recovery time.
Wow.
And with that, concussions kind of stack on top of each other. So that's where I was going with the Canton injury. That was another concussion. It was my second major one. I probably had one or two more when I was younger that I kind of ignored, but
undiagnosed.
Yep. So it was in practice. A teammate and I we were actually on the same line. We weren't really, going after each other. We just both kind of reached for the puck in the neutral zone, and my head ended up hitting his shoulder, and tossed my head a certain direction. I think it was actually the same exact motion that happened with my first concussion. So that maybe that has some feed into why it was so bad. But immediately I didn't feel right, and immediately I was dazed and confused, and I didn't get knocked out. So like a lot of people with concussions, like they go right to thinking you're unconscious or
right. Yep.
That stuff didn't happen to me, but it's been completely life changing, to be honest with you. So obviously it took me out of the game. I had higher aspirations than just playing Division III college hockey. Like I was,
right.
those
SUNY schools routinely pump out SPHL, ECHL professional players. It's pretty common.
That's exactly what I was going for, and just wanted to, live out the career with hockey as long as I could as a player and make a living. But at the end of the day, I needed to step back. After that injury happened, I didn't play another second the rest of the season.
Was that the plan all along, or did you try to fight through it? Here you are, only 8 games into your collegiate career. Yes, you suffer a concussion, but are you thinking that whole time that, hey, maybe I can get back on the ice here in a month or 2 months once, I shake these symptoms and I should be good to go?
Yeah, no, I wanted that for myself, but I was trying to be honest, and quite honestly, I was feeling a lot of pressure from, people around me, not family or friends, but, the team was, they relied on me a decent amount, and the coaching staff and everything. And I kind of felt pressured back in. And I think I went back, very early. I tried to even ignore it and not sit out. And that 8th game that I was registered playing, I was sitting on the bench because, my head wasn't right. I couldn't even go out on the ice. So, it was actually quicker than that. I didn't even get 8 games, but, just a completely life-altering experience, and for me, I didn't want to rush myself back, and I felt the pressure to be rushed back, but I kind of stood tall and stood strong in what I believed in, and I wanted to make sure that I put my head first, and at the end of the day, it was the right choice to sit out, especially the rest of the season. To this day, it's we're working up on 5 years now, and I still have symptoms every single day.
That's crazy.
Every single day. So, and I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat it. It has gotten better, and it's gotten to a point where I understand how to cope with what I still go through, but, it still has changed my life drastically. You look at where I'm at now, and I would have probably still been playing is what I think anyway. I would have still been playing.
It's, and when it happened too, 2014, it would have been the end of the 2014 calendar year, the beginning of the 2014-15 hockey season. Back then, that was still relatively new to all the concussion, the CTE news, all that stuff was still, I don't want to say getting swept under the rug, but it was still being glazed over. The Will Smith movie was still a couple of years from coming out, the NFL and all of their struggles and the Junior Seau stuff. And I point to the NFL because that seems to be the sport that whenever you mention CTE or concussions, everyone goes. But obviously with hockey, it's also a huge deal. And, it was still in its, I don't want to say concussions were in their infancy in terms of our understanding, but it was in that time period where everyone knew they were serious, but there was no structure, there was no infrastructure that was set up that said this is how we handle things like there is today. You get concussion testing all the time. I think you guys are getting set to do concussion testing and training and all this other stuff in the near future in the next couple of weeks as coaches. So this was back during that time, and eventually then it became when one door closes, a window opens, right?
Yeah. So you can certainly say that. I mean, I kind of had to weigh my options out after my first year there, and I didn't see things getting better quickly. So after my freshman year at Canton, I decided to transfer to Temple University. The reason I did that is I had a couple really close friends going there.
Close to home.
But the number one reason was because I could go home and I could focus on healing the brain, which is extremely tough to do while you're a full-time college student.
Yeah.
So, I pretty much went through college in a daze. I'm not gonna lie about that.
I bet you if you ask 90% of people with college degrees, if the college was clear, they would say the same thing.
Yeah, just for different reasons.
Exactly.
But, so I got that, dazed feeling without having to do what college kids do to get that. So, I had that, from a natural standpoint, but, so I did transfer home, with recognizing that I probably wouldn't play hockey again, which for me was completely heart-wrenching. Just like you said earlier, like I don't know if I didn't have hockey, I don't know what I would do.
Well, like I said, one door closes, another door opens. You move back home to Philadelphia. For those of you who don't know, Temple University is in Philadelphia, and that starts a pretty good run of Kenny Orlando coaching in the Philadelphia area, and we're going to cover that on the other side because this is really where your current career started and took off and what enabled you to be right here in Austin as an assistant coach with the Austin Bruins. So we're going to jump into your coaching career here in just a bit on the other side. Stay tuned. Plenty more of the Austin Bruins show coming up on AM 1480 KAUS. The Austin Bruins show here on AM 1480 KAUS. TJ Shalott in studio with my special guest co-host, Bruins assistant coach Kenny Orlando. Little raspberry beret from Prince. You seem to be grooving to that, huh? You're in the land of Prince now. You know that, right?
Yeah, actually, just last couple days, actually, my girlfriend's family was in town, and we got to go to the Prince. What is that, a mansion or whatever it is? We took the tour through there, so that's why I was jamming to it. I recognized walking through the house there and rocking along to it. So
I think I'm going to make some enemies here, but I'm sorry, Minnesota. I'm apologizing beforehand. I had never heard the song Raspberry Beret until I moved here. Wow. So yeah, I get that same reaction from non Minnesota and Prince fans. I had never heard that song. Obviously, everybody knows Purple Rain. I'm also a very big Batman fan, so that kind of came naturally because it was on the soundtrack of the original Tim Burton movie. And anywho, I had never heard it, and as a matter of fact, it was actually at Steve's house where I had heard it the first time, and everybody looked at me like I had six heads. Like, you don't know Raspberry Beret? And I'm like, I don't know. You guys don't know what John means, so come on.
They don't get it.
No, exactly right. So let's talk a little bit. We left off at the break. We talked about your transition from a player after your injury to a coach. So it happened in 14-15 that you had the concussion and you basically ruled yourself out as a player for the rest of your foreseeable future. Took a year off from playing and coaching, right? In between there?
Yeah. So, I guess that's how it's listed some places, but, but quote unquote took the year off, but not necessarily. I mean, so
worked lower level, right? Trying to get your foot in the door, like an internship kind of thing.
Well, I mean, yeah. So like when I made that transition from Canton to Temple, so I was going into sophomore year at Temple. I was helping coach my dad's team. My little brother's a 2003 birth year, so I was helping coach his team. And I did stay involved and around the Temple hockey team. Like, so, switching schools and having a couple buddies that went there and played on the team, like that was kind of my friend group going into Temple. There's nothing listed as far as, if you look my coaching history up, but at the end of the day, for the first couple months, I ended up skating with them. But quickly, I reckon, no contact or anything, just skating to get my legs under me. Thought maybe I can make something work here. Maybe I could try it again. And it just wasn't happening. My head didn't agree with it. So that's when I officially hung him up, and talked to the coach there, Roman Bassetti. And he's a great guy. And, he kind of let me get a little bit more hands on. So at practice, I was kind of helping coach and, helping just get more involved and talk to the guys, about systems and everything else. So I don't know if I was labeled as an assistant, but I certainly worked like one.
Right.
That first year as a sophomore at Temple. But then, that's kind of how the transition happened. Once I officially said I can't put these skates on anymore and get hit. The next season going in as a junior. Yep. At Temple, that's when I was the official assistant. Yep. So that was also, it was with Roman again.
Yep.
So him and I had a really good relationship, and there's a lot of the same guys that came back, and at the end of the day, I was kind of double dipping. I mean, I was getting the experience of coaching, and I was getting the experience of being friends and best buddies with some of these college hockey players, and it's something, it's really unique because you have to find a way to create a boundary as a coach.
Right.
And that's something that I was tested with in my first year of coaching, trying to create that boundary between, hey, you and I are buddies and we go to some of the same classes.
That's the tough part, is because you're so close in age.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, I mean, like I was only a year or two older than some of these kids, and, some of them are in the same class as me at school, and, some of them are seniors and I'm a junior, and it's just a weird situation. I'm older than them and younger than them in college standing. It's just very odd, but at the end of the day, I had to try to really focus on myself and create that boundary with the players, so I could be their friend. There's a time and a place, me being a college student, to still be their friend.
Right.
Because I can't take my college life away from me, but at the same time, I was a coach. I was completely dedicated to it 100%, just like I was as a player, I was as a coach. So like I did probably create that boundary very quickly and took some of my college experience as a student away, because I wanted to dedicate it to coaching. So the transition happened quickly, and then, you ended up going to the rink every day, working on video and system work and everything with these guys that they're your friends, but now you're not out partying with them anymore and anything like that.
Right.
You're trying to imagine that they're not doing that now because you're their coach.
Yeah, so, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Just block it out. And you must have settled in rather quickly, because after that second year, I'm doing air quotations, after that second year at Temple, you parlayed that to a head coaching job in the ACHA. So you basically went from an assistant coach in that league and in that division at Temple to the head coach of Villanova. And I want to give a little bit of a background for those of you out there who don't know the Philadelphia landscape of the colleges. There's Drexel, Villanova, Temple, St. Joe's. What else do we got that we can throw in the city of Philadelphia as well? UPenn, LaSalle. I mean, they're all right in this area. So anybody who's a March Madness fan already knows this, because it seems like those schools always pop up. But you literally left Temple, went down the road. I mean, you went down Broad Street just the other way, more or less, and ended up becoming a head coach. And at Villanova, in your first year, you take them to the finals with the Ice Cats. How much did you learn in those 2 years? And we got to kind of keep this a little quick. How much did you learn in those 2 years at Villanova about being a head coach, and how much did that prepare you for going forward?
So much. It's kind of thrown to the ropes there. There's so much that goes into being a head coach, but that's my motivation. That's the position that I love to be in. And, there was just so much responsibility at the club level, but what's unique at the club level is that you have to kind of work hand in hand with the players.
Right.
Which is a little different because here you're not administratively, you're not working with the players.
Right. You don't have that backing at a club level from the whole university to help you out at SID and all that other stuff. I mean,
right.
It's tough.
No, yeah, and you're managing a budget and you're planning all the travel and you're managing the ice expenses and the time and making sure the locker room's tidy and everything else. Like the list goes on and on. And I could sit here for an hour and tell you about the list of things that myself and my two assistants did on a daily basis, but I don't know if that's necessary. It was just it was an incredible eye-opening experience for me. I'm extremely thankful for that opportunity, and I always have a soft spot for Villanova for providing me that opportunity at such a young age. They believed in myself, and I was when I took that job I was 24 years old. Not a lot of people can say that they're a head coach at 24 years old.
Right.
So,
and this is one of those positives to what happened to you in your career. You're going to have by the time you're, let's say, my age, 32, you're going to have a coaching sheet that's going to be almost a decade long.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm really excited for that too. And I'm not trying to get ahead of myself. Like I'm trying to take every day and enjoy every day of being a coach. But yeah, it was a really, it tested my character. It tested, how much time and effort I wanted to put into this in those 2 years with Villanova. It very, very unique because they actually play out of my family's rink. So, during that time now, like when I take that job, I'm 24 and I'm working now full time,
literally at home.
So yeah, I think I was still working in the family pro shop actually, and I'm a senior at Temple. So try to wrap your head around that, right? So I'm a senior at Temple. I'm still friends with some of the hockey guys on the Temple team. I take a head coaching job at Villanova. So now I'm coaching. So to the Temple players in their eyes, I'm their friend. And just down the road, the same players, the same age, I'm their head coach.
Yeah.
So it's just really, mind-boggling actually how that works. But
for the fans out there who can't put their imagine being a Minnesota Golden Gopher hockey player, but you're still going to school at Minnesota State Mankato. But here's the connection. The schools are literally a half mile apart from each other. That's what you were going through, basically. You're going to school one place, you're coaching the other place, and they're basically a half mile apart. I think I looked it up today. It was like 0.7 of a mile apart. I mean,
they're pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, they're pretty close. I mean, you got a little bit of a ride, but
there's
still
some
traffic. Yeah, it's close though.
It's very close.
And just having that experience and being able to move that along to, well, I guess I can't breeze by. Our first year making it to the championship was a pretty cool accomplishment. And,
for sure.
The leadership on the team that year was outstanding. Actually, both years we were there was outstanding. And, making it to the championship and losing by one shot, that'll always, it sits in my stomach, awkwardly. But, for a first year experience as a head, that was really, really awesome.
It's eye-opening.
Oh, absolutely. And just, I think that that happened to the right guy because I'm so passionate about that already, but getting a taste of a championship and just the energy that brings and, that comes with that, with the play. Yeah. Oh yeah. I just feed right into that. I don't, that's what I live for. So, that was awesome. Obviously we wish we had the bounce there, wish we had the trophy, but, the second year, was just as good. We had a couple bad bounces in playoffs, but, just amazing experience overall. Dealt with a lot of great people at the university and the leadership as a whole. And I couldn't be more thankful to be able to coach with two assistant coaches who were two of my best friends.
Right.
So, really, really,
all of that,
really that experience.
All of that ultimately is what led you here. And coming back on the other side, we're going to talk about what that connection was, because hockey is a very niche market. So you got to know somebody to know somebody. You knew somebody who knew somebody, and you ended up here in Austin as the new assistant coach of the Austin Bruins. We got plenty more with Kenny Orlando coming up on the other side of the Austin Bruins show here on AM 1480 KAUS.
Desperate for changing, starving for truth.
Welcome back inside the Austin Bruins show. TJ Shalott, voice of the Bruins, here with one of the newest assistant coaches on Steve Howard's staff, Kenny Orlando. And Kenny, we left off right at the break there for those of you just tuning in. Basically, what the connection was, because you got to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So how did you end up from coaching a club hockey team at Villanova University all the way out in Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, to being here in Austin, Minnesota? How did that happen?
Yeah, so a guy at home, Chris Economo, he's a goalie coach in our local area, and he's had a lot of hockey experience, top to bottom. But he's phenomenal at what he does, and he's a great guy. I've known him and shot on his goalie since I was, I don't even know how big, but he knew Steve, and I think they had an experience together in Waterloo, and they talk a decent amount, and an opportunity came up, and I heard about it through Econ, and got to from there have some conversations with Steve, and that's kind of how I built the connection. Was certainly the bridge through Chris Economo, and I'm extremely thankful for it. And he's always vouched for me, and I'm really appreciative of that. And I think it's paying off for me, and I think Steve sees the passion and the love that I can bring that, Chris certainly told him about first. So that's where it came from. And, it's led me to this experience, and I get to work with Steve and Keegan as well. And, they're two great guys. I'm really happy to be here. I'm enjoying the experience working with them. And I'm definitely still learning some things. And, Steve lets me be hands-on with a lot of things, which is great. I'm really thankful for that, because if you're not doing that, you're not learning, right? You're not.
That's true.
Better. So, that's really great. And he's a great oversight for me, if, just checks over my work and makes sure everything that we're doing is running like a well-oiled machine. And, Keegan's no less. I mean, he's a great, the way I can describe him, and I've heard he's gotten described this way in the past, is a teammate, and he's 100% of a teammate. He's 100% team player, and
which is interesting coming from a goalie, because you'd think they would be the most selfish of the bunch, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the position that he's playing, right? Spotlight's on him a lot, but no, he's certainly not that kind of guy. And I really enjoy working with him. We share an office together, and we just knock things out left and right, and because we both have a similar work ethic, and I think it fits, and we both have our eye on the prize as far as the success of the program, and having Steve with the oversight, and being able to give us some of his knowledge that he's had over the last couple of years. I think it's we're in a pretty good spot going into this season. The dynamic behind the bench is awesome too. So you have Keegan, who's going to work with the goalies, and he's certainly going to help with the defense, and Steve is defensively minded player. He played defense in his career, and I'm with the forwards, so I obviously played forward my whole life. So we have a good dynamic there, where we got thoughts going around about each position. And that's how we're going to kind of split up the duties as well. So I'm excited to be working with the forwards and working with the power play, and we expect big things out of them. We're going to demand that, and that's how the team's going to be successful. So
sure. Yeah, and you know what? It's the first time in Steve Howard's coaching career here in Austin that he's had a former forward on his coaching staff. Because if you go back to 2017-18, it was Coach Howard with Al Rooney, a former goaltender, and Keenan Kelly, a former defenseman. Then you go back to last year, it was Steve and Keenan, two former defensemen. Yep. Now this year, it's literally three heads, three different positions. Steve, the former defenseman, Keegan, the former goalie, yourself, the former forward. So what do you expect? What are some of your generalistic goals? I don't want you to give away any state secrets, no nuke codes or anything like that as far as the Bruins are concerned. What are you looking for out of this forward group or this Bruins team on the whole this season?
Yeah, no, I would certainly say that it's more of a goal as a whole here. But, as a coaching staff and as a program, I know ownership thinks the same way. As we care the most about the development of the player, right? So we want to see players succeed. We want to see them move on. We want to see them commit to schools. It's amazing accomplishment to see some of these kids commit to pro programs after that, and that's kind of what keeps it going for us, and that's kind of like the little celebrations that you get to have, or when you get to see these kids move on and succeed with their hockey career. So that's the most important to me at this point in time, is the advancement of the player. And obviously as a team, you have one goal that's in mind as the team, not as individual player development, but but as a team, you got that one goal that you're playing that last game and you're winning that last game at the end of the season. So that's what drives me deep down from a team aspect is to be celebrating that victory at the end of the year. But the most important things about the players here, and I'm really thankful to be a part of it.
All right, you got 1 minute, and I'm going to throw this at you. What do you want to tell the fans of the Austin Bruins and the town of Austin? What do you want to tell them about Kenny Orlando?
Well, is it what I want to tell them?
Yes,
or is it
what you want to tell them, because now you got 45 seconds.
Are you sure it's not what everyone else is going to tell them about my car license plate?
Everybody knows it already. Yeah. I mentioned it last week.
All right. Well, no. I mean, maybe you could expect some more videos from me, some stick handling videos or something. Maybe I'll throw them up to entertain the fans. But at the end of the day, I want the fans to know that I have the best interest of the team, and I'm really excited to get working with these players, and I really appreciate the support that the fans bring to the rink every single week for our players. It means a lot.
And you haven't seen it yet. It's right around the corner. TJ Shalott here on the Austin Bruins Show. That was assistant coach Kenny Orlando. Kenny, thanks again for your time and coming on out and talking to us tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
We'll have to do this again. You'll hear more from Kenny throughout the season, I'm sure. I'll get some intermission interviews with him and some midweek interviews to play you guys during the rest of the broadcast. But let's go ahead and recap real quick. When is the next Bruins game? Well, because it's right around the corner on September 6th against the Aberdeen Wings at home. That's a Friday night right at Riverside Arena. Tickets are only $5. They go on sale September 2nd. I know that that's Labor Day. You can get them from Games People Play, Hy-Vee, Holiday Inn, or Jim's Marketplace. So the September 6th, Bruins and Wings. It's your first chance to take a look at the 2019-2020 Austin Bruins. That is just 9 days away. It is so close. You can almost taste it. Then just 3 weeks from tonight, 21 days, the Bruins will kick off their 2019-20 campaign, the regular season, the showcase up in Blaine, Minnesota. The Bruins open things up against Jamestown. Then they'll take on Janesville, New Mexico, and Kenai River. Well, next week we got the other assistant coach, Keegan Asmundsson, will be joining me here in studio, and we'll get some thoughts from the former professional goaltender, hear a little bit about his long career that he had up in the pros, as well as what he expects from the back end and the goaltenders of the Austin Bruins. Thanks for joining me. This is TJ Shalott, and you are listening to the Austin Bruins Show.